Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Face in your face. Face in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense, because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find natural solutions. But not everyone uses logic. So for that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have another YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora where I discuss issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, the subscriber mode has been enabled, meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to subscribe to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. Also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices, and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So what I'm going to ask you to do is the following. I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So tonight, we're going to have another episode of Open Discussion. For those who are not familiar with what happens when we have open discussion, I will share my views regarding several topics. Of course, it's an opportunity for you to opine regarding any topic that I discuss. Also, if there's any topics that you want me to discuss, I will do my best to comply. One exception is anything that's going on between Israel and Hamas. I will not enter that discussion because basically people who love to argue this about what's going on do it out of emotion and not out of common sense, and they're hypocritical. They'll condemn one for the evil that they do, but not for the evil not done by both sides. Okay. So let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and join the panel and opine regarding anything that I will be discussing, they may do so. However, if I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one tries to flash anything pornographic, which would cause the people of YouTube to take down their stream. Once I see that you're going to behave yourself and abide by my rules and guidelines, you'll be allowed on pen. Now, let me just state what's going to be the schedule for next week. So I will do lives on Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night. Okay. Um, if I do a discussion regarding my other channel, it'll most likely be Thursday night. Okay. And most likely it's going to be after 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The reason why I choose that hour is trying to find a common ground that hopefully those who live on the West Coast can participate in the live. Okay. So that's going to be the schedule for next week. Now, the first topic I'm going to talk about is, of course, the government shutdown, which has been 3 weeks. That our members of the House and the Senate have not been able to put together a budget. And of course, each side is blaming each other. There's one big difference. The Republicans are in control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. So basically, they're the masters of their own fate. So they really have to share a huge amount of the responsibility regarding the government shutdown. And of course, what has been the consequences? You have people who work for TSA not getting paid, but still have to expected to do their jobs. Another consequence pertaining to the government shutdown is the possibility that people that are depending on food stamps, otherwise known as SNAP benefits, which is Supplemental Nutritional Something Program, may not have receive food stamp benefits for the month of November. Okay. Now, one thing we have to bear in mind, November is the month when we observe Thanksgiving Day. So what's going to happen is you're going to have millions of people who are depending on food stamp benefits may not receive them for the month of November. And if you go into TikTok, there's video after video after video where people are threatening the loot, threatening vines if they don't get their food stamps next month. Okay. Unfortunately, you have certain people that have developed a huge sense of entitlement. You have these people that are crying about it is the responsibility of the public to feed these people. Yeah. With all due respect, no one compel them to have a bunch of kids that they can't support. Okay? No one compelled these women to open their legs to get pregnant and have a whole bunch of kids and no means to take care of them. Okay? And unfortunately, when you have a situation when you have 2, 3, or even 4 generations of families receiving benefits from the government, they develop a sense of entitlement. They have no motivation, no desire to do anything to try to get off of social services. And when I mean social services, I'm not talking about food stamps. I'm also talking about public assistance. I'm also talking about Medicaid. I'm also talking about Section 8. And now there are rules in place that for people who are receiving food stamps, they're gonna have to work for those benefits. Okay. And of course, some of these people are getting upset. Some of these people are getting entitled. Some of people are going crazy. But what some people neglect to understand that the whole purpose of these benefits was to provide temporary assistance until they reach the point that they could self-sustain each other. If you recall back in the 90s, under the Clinton administration, that's when they started supposedly setting limits as far as how long a person can receive public assistance. I remember because I went through that as an employee. Or basically, the only thing is, I mean, how can I say this without going too much? But I will say this. It is one thing if you lost your job, okay, and you're having difficulty trying to gain employment, and then you decide to apply for benefits for a certain period of time, or if the situation where you are physically disabled and you are not able to work due to a medical condition, or maybe you're an elderly and you are struggling to survive. I can understand and appreciate those who are applying for SNAP benefits, those who are applying for public assistance, Medicaid, and Section 8. It is one thing to, to seek temporary assistance. It's another thing when that temporary assistance becomes a lifestyle. And then what is an insult to injury? You have some of these people who get on social media, particularly TikTok, and they talk about how they managed to get all thousands of dollars in SNAP benefits, thousands of dollars in public assistance, thousands of dollars in SSI for their children. Okay. All these social services are there to help people in need. They were not created so that people can become lazy and depend on the government to feed them, clothe them, shelter them, and things of that nature. So the Trump administration, and this is one of the few times I actually agree with them, is they're trying to place limits how long a person can receive Section 8. How long can a person receive food stamps? How long can a person receive Medicaid? How long can a person receive public assistance? I don't have a problem with that, okay? And I will submit to you, most intelligent people would not have a problem with that. However, the ones that are receiving these benefits, some, not all, are the ones that that complaining and yelling the loudest about being taken away. Unfortunately, for some people, um, they have become addicted to handouts. They have become addicted to social services. They have become addicted to the concept that other people should support them, feed them, clothe them, take care of them. It never dawned on them that people are getting sick and tired of watching, see their tax money go for people that don't want to do anything to try to alleviate their situation. I mean, it is what it is. Some people have no shame, and there's not a great much that can be done. So now the next topic I want to be talking about is now we're approaching time for the World Series. So it's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, the last time the Blue Jays was in the World Series was in 1993, which gives which gives you an idea. That was during the Clinton administration, and a lot of the players were not alive when the Blue Jays made it to the World Series the last time. But what is gratifying that there is a coach on the Blue Jays called Don Manning who will be participating in his first World Series. Now, those of you who remember the New York Yankees from the early 80s through the mid 90s, remember that for several years, Don Mattingly was one of the best players in baseball. First of all, he was a great fielder. Second of all, he was a great hitter. Okay. And from 1984 through I think 87, I think every year he drove in 100 runs and he had like 30 home runs a year or something of that nature. Okay. Unfortunately, he had problems with his back in the late 80s, which affected his production. And of course, the Yankees failed to reach the postseason from 1982 to 1995. And of course, he was one of those players that did not get a chance to participate in a World Series as a player, and he was also has been a coach. So finally, he's in his first World Series. I'm kind of hoping that the Blue Jays will win. Okay, but we shall see. We shall see. And of course, there's always been some debate whether or not Don Mattingly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. The problem is you can get 20 people together, you're going to get 20 different viewpoints. There's some people who think, yes, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And then you have other people think he was a good player, but not a great player. Okay. I would say that Don Mattingly, as a whole, was almost one of the great players. And I say almost because, unfortunately, his production was down for a stretch of time. But he was definitely a very good ball player. And you can kind of put Munson in the same category. I mean, but with Thurman Munson is a different story because his playing career cut short due to the fact that he passed away at the age of 32. And of course, there's always speculation what type of player would Munson have been had he not passed away. And of course, there are people who make an argument um, whether or not he deserves in the Hall of Fame. In all fairness, I mean, yeah, he was one of the best catchers in the game, and he did have um, 3 consecutive seasons when he drove in 100 runs better. But the same issue with Munson is the same issue with Manning. Is he good enough to get into the Hall of Fame? Some people will say yes. Other people will say no. Um, and I just really don't know. Would I love to see these two in the Hall of Fame? Yes. I think Mattingly does have a shot, um, particularly as a coach. Particularly should the Blue Jays win the World Series, but only time will tell. Only time will tell. And for the benefit of those of you just tuning in, today we're having open discussion. So, an open discussion, I will share my views regarding several topics. And of course, you, the audience, will have an opportunity to opine and also suggest any topics that you would like for me to discuss. And of course, we're coming close to election day, where we will decide who will become mayor of the city of New York. Right now, the remaining candidates are Ramadani, Slio, and Cuomo. And I know all of you have your preferences, which one of the three. To be perfectly honest, I don't want Cuomo to get elected as mayor for reasons which I have discussed, and I think Slio is not a good choice either. Now, do I think a lot of what Ramdani proposes is going to come to pass? Only time will tell. And of course, Donald Trump is upset because of the possibility that Ramdani might become mayor to this, to such that he has threatened to send in the National Guard because he's afraid that he's a radical socialist and that the city will go to pieces. Is he the perfect candidate for me? No. But he's the only candidate out of the three remaining that seriously is having discussion regarding the issues that we have. I mean, here in New York, there's a serious housing crisis as far as affordable housing. We have municipal employees residing in shelters, many of them because they cannot afford the rent, and many of them, unfortunately, they are victims of domestic violence. So just think about it. You are working at a facility where you're servicing clients only to find out that you're sleeping in the facility. That is not something to brag about, and that's something to be embarrassed. So we shall see in a couple of short weeks who's going to be the next mayor. course, we have to realize that next year will be midterm elections, where here we have an opportunity to vote for governor. We also have an opportunity to vote for whoever we wish to represent us in our respective congressional districts, as well as other local elections, such as the city council. And these are elections. Well, many of them we actually can influence the outcome. If you're talking about, say, the mayor of the city of New York, yes. If you're talking about the candidates for respective seats in the House, yes. When it comes to the Senate, that's a little different story altogether. But we can definitely make sure that who we vote for is someone that at least share some of our values. So, next thing to talk about is, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be another bad season for football in the metropolitan area. Both the Giants and the Jets are not doing well. In fact, the Jets recently fired their coach because they were off to an 0-7 start. Now, in all fairness, I don't think any adult expected him to create a how could I say this? Well, let me just change direction a little bit. But when it comes to politics, there's certain areas where we can have a direct impact. When it comes to the city council, when it comes to local government, when it comes to the federal government, it's a little different altogether. Um, but I would encourage anyone to vote. Okay. But before you vote, please, and I said please, do your research. One of the reasons why Donald Trump got elected is because you have a bunch of people that didn't bother to take the time of day to do research regarding what other platforms are. And people somehow the default selected amnesia. And they forgot how was this country was operating under the first Trump term. First of all, we was dealing with the effects of COVID-19. We were also dealing with a president that didn't take this um, illness seriously and had large rallies during an epidemic. Now, if that doesn't cry stupidity, I don't know what will. But that's the reason why we call ourselves the uncommon folk, because we actually use something that's very uncommon today, which is common sense. And I can just imagine these are some of the people that, what if, heaven forbid, there was a nuclear attack. Okay. There will be some of them be the type of people will go outside that try to get a selfie with a nuclear device going off. Okay. Now, I would not want to be around when if there's if my city is getting hit with nuclear missiles, because we're talking about massive damage, massive number of death, both immediate and then the effects of the of a nuclear attack. Unfortunately, that's where we are currently living today. And I hope and pray for the day come when we don't need our nuclear weapons anymore. As is stated in Isaiah, that they will beat their swords into pruning shears. But hope we can always pray. And of course, we all know that next week it's Halloween. Okay. Which means what's going to happen is they're going to be children, hopefully with an adult as an escort. They will go out and they'll go trick or treating and try to gather candy, bake for candy, things of that nature. All supposedly in innocent fun. Now, of course, I do not observe Halloween, and in fact, I actually gave a stream um, recently the reasons why I don't. Because I actually did some history research on it, and a lot of the customs um, invoke images of death, invoke images of darkness. And as a Christian, I cannot, in good conscience, observe a holiday like Halloween. At the same time, I don't condemn those who do. I don't judge people who do observe Halloween. That is an issue between them and the Lord, and the Lord will deal with these people in His good time. And as I said before, if you want to observe Halloween, go ahead. Thus, respect my desire to refrain for Halloween. And of course, what I will do is I will pray for the children that go out there and trick or treating, that they may be protected from those who wish to do them harm. Because unfortunately, we're living in a time and age when we have sick and twisted people that will try to put drugs or poison into the candy to be given to these children. That's why, as much as I disagree with the whole idea of trick or treating, if they're going to do it, make sure that they are accompanied with an adult. Also, make sure that they don't eat any candy on the way, and that they let the adult, usually their parent, go through the candy to make sure that the candy is safe to consume. Okay. So on October the 31st, I will be praying that even though I disagree with the whole concept of trick or treating, praying that God will protect these children from those that will do them harm. Okay. I'm not in any way, shape, or form condoning Halloween. What I'm asking is that God protect these children. Okay. And I understand that people will find it hard not to observe Halloween because they're so used to it. But just because you're used to doing something doesn't make it right. Okay. Now I'm just checking to see who is Okay. Now, I'm probably going to be running on for maybe another 15 to 20 minutes. And then after that, I'll start to wrap this up. Okay. Of course, we're getting close to the holidays. And of course, the holidays that no that we no that we'll celebrate, of course, is Thanksgiving in November. Also, Veterans Day, no, no, where we honor the men and women that serve in the military, and also pay the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so we'll honor those people. And of course, Thanksgiving is the one day out of the year where everyone, whether it be Christian or atheist or what have you, will gather with their family and loved ones, and be thankful for what they will receive. And again, while this is a happy time for many because we're approaching holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, uh, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and of course Three Kings Day, otherwise known as the Feast of the Epiphany, which is the time where we'll be gathering with family, loved ones. We will enjoy good food, and we will enjoy each other's company. While this is a happy time for many, we must not lose sight of the fact that there are people who are suffering from depression. And of course, the cases of depressions go up substantially during the holidays. And unfortunately, it's also the time of the year when people consider self deletion. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want to get into trouble with YouTube regarding the community guidelines. And what I would say to these people that are dealing with depression because of a loss of a loved one, plus of employment, or maybe they're dealing with illnesses, is that they are special in God's sight. They are loved in God's sight, and that there are other ways to deal with mental health issues. And of course, people are encouraged to seek therapy and, of course, prayer. Okay. And as a person like myself that actually gone through bouts of depression and actually thoughts of self-delusion, I am glad and I am happy that I was able to get the assistance that I needed. And obviously, I'm still here. Okay. Because the problem is self-delusion is a permanent response to a temporary a problem. And what happens is now you bring a lot of grief to your loved ones, and then they start to question themselves and they start to blame themselves for not being there, not being judgmental, not reaching out, and things of that nature. So if you love yourself and you love your family, please reconsider thoughts of self-deletion. Okay. Let me just check and see. Okay. Now, one more thing that I want to discuss is Like for the month of November, I will be talking about mental health issues. I just need to have an idea what type of mental health issue to discuss because of the fact that unfortunately depression rises during the holidays. Loneliness and also loneliness. And of course, the ones that are suffer greatly because of loneliness are the elderly. Because their family is gone, members of family is gone, their friends are gone, or friends have moved up, become distant. So I will be sharing um, topics regarding mental health issues and how to deal with them. Okay. And of course, before I go, I do want to give a huge shout out to my supporters. Okay. I truly appreciate them because they have shown a great deal of love towards me and towards my platform. And I am truly humbled by the amount of growth that that this channel has achieved. We have reached over 800 subs, and there's a possibility that we may reach 900 subs by the end of the year. But definitely, I'll reach 1K subs sometime next year. Now, the issue, of course, is the watch time. Okay, so I need to think about what ways I can increase the watch time. But I'm sure that I'll find a solution. It is a matter of time. Okay. But in any case, I will start to wrap this up. Um, this has been a slow week as far as people watching, but I'm sure next week will be better. And of course, I'll try to be continue to produce quality content. Okay, because when everything is said and done, um, you deserve nothing but the best from your story. And of course, I'll try to be the best version of myself. Now, the reason why I'm doing open discussion tonight instead of tomorrow, like I usually do, is because I'm going to be going out to a banquet. So I'm going to enjoy some good food. I'm going to enjoy some good company and do a little dancing, or at least try to do a little dancing. Okay. So, and of course, try to be temperate in mind and in spirit. Okay. So before I go, I would encourage all of you, if you have not done so, please consider subscribing to this channel. Okay. Make sure that um, you hit the like button whenever I go live. Also, make sure that you set the notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do create content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. And of course, I'm going to close the same way that I always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by the stupidity and nonsense. And of course, whatever I say you do for the glory of God. And of course, as always, I appreciate all of you for your support, for your love, and for your patience with your children. And with that being said, I'd like to wish all of you a very, very good night, a blissful night, and a wonderful weekend. So just take care, stay blessed, and peace.